Students, welcome to this lecture. Today we are going to see about the applications of Schrodinger's wave equation. In the previous sections, we have studied about the Schrodinger's wave equation, and today we are going to apply it to one of the physical arrangements. So the first application of Schrodinger's wave equation, or one of the application, is for a particle in one dimensional box. The same topic can also be put forward as application of Schrodinger's wave equation to a particle in one dimensional potential well. Now let us see what is the application of Schrodinger's wave equation for a particle in one dimensional box. So consider a one dimensional box of length L. Now, since it is a one dimensional box, it means that the extension of the box is only along one direction. It may be along the x-axis, along the y-axis, or along the z direction, but only one direction is considered here, and we have taken a box of length L. Now let A be any free particle inside the box. Now the question arises, what is a free particle? So a free particle is a particle on which no force acts and the particle moves in a region where the potential is zero. So if the potential is denoted by capital V, then V is equal to 0 for a free particle. So just keep in mind that no force acts on a free particle and a free particle moves in a region where potential V is equal to 0 at the edges of the box. The box is of length L, so the edges of the box will be at x is equal to 0 and x is equal to L. So at the edges of the box, the potential V is equal to infinity. V is equal to infinity. What is the consequence of this particular condition? Is that the particle is constrained or restricted to move only inside the box. The particle does not come out of the box because at the edges or at the boundaries, the potential V is equal to infinity. So these overall conditions for a free particle in one dimensional box is shown in this figure. Here we have considered a box in one dimensional extension, that is along x-axis, and the box is of length L. So edges of the box are at x is equal to 0 and x is equal to L. A is a free particle which is moving inside the box. So since the particle is free, just see it that inside the box we have shown that the potential V is equal to 0. At the edges, the potential V is equal to infinity. Therefore, the particle cannot come out of the box. So this is shown in this particular figure. Now see, every moving particle has a wave function associated with it. And since the particle moves only inside the box, we have got the wave function associated with the particle only inside the box. The wave function is denoted by psi. And just observe that outside the box, the wave function psi is shown to be equal to 0. This means the particle cannot come out of the box. So at the boundaries, x less than or equal to 0, we have got psi is equal to 0. This is our equation 1. At the other boundary, that is x is greater than or equal to L, at this boundary also psi is equal to 0. This is our equation 2. And the equation 1 and 2, they form the boundary conditions for this particular problem or this particular example. Now by the Schrodinger's time independent wave equation, we have seen this equation is given by minus h cross whole square divided by twice m del square psi upon del x square plus v of psi is equal to E psi. This is the Schrodinger's time independent wave equation. And if I make the rearrangement of the terms, I can write this equation as del square psi upon del x square plus twice m upon h cross whole square E minus v of psi is equal to 0. This is our equation 3. Now, since the particle A inside the box is a free particle, it means it is moving in a region where potential V is equal to 0. So, if we put potential V is equal to 0 in equation 3 implies that del square psi upon del x square plus twice m upon h cross whole square E psi, this is equal to 0, and this is our equation 4. Now observe that this equation is obtained because potential V is equal to 0 inside the box, inside the one-dimensional box. So now substitute twice me upon h cross whole square is equal to k square, where k is a constant. This is our equation 5. So from equation 4 and 5, using it, we can write del square psi upon del x square plus k square psi is equal to 0. We have substituted twice me upon h cross whole square is equal to k square. This is equation 6. The solution of equation 6, if it is exists, it is of the form psi is equal to a sine of kx plus b cos of kx. This is equation 7. And here a and b, these are the constants and they are to be determined by using the boundary conditions. So, applying the boundary conditions, if we apply the boundary conditions, then the first boundary condition is that at x is equal to 0, psi is equal to 0. So put psi is equal to 0 in equation 7. So we get 0 is equal to a sine of 0 plus b cos of 0. And we know that sine of 0 is equal to 0 and cos of 0 is equal to 1. So this above equation reduces to b is equal to 0. And so this now implies, since b is equal to 0, it implies that psi is equal to a sine of kx. This is our equation 8. Now to find the other constant, we are going to use the second boundary condition, and that is at x is equal to L, again psi is equal to 0. So put psi is equal to 0 in equation 8. And if you do so, we get 0 is equal to a sine of kl. This is our equation 9. Now if equation 9 is to be satisfied, if equation 9 is to be satisfied, then either A is equal to 0 or sine of KL should be equal to 0. Then only equation 9 will be satisfied. Now see what happens. If A is equal to 0, then the wave function psi permanently becomes equal to 0. And if psi is equal to 0, it means the particle does not exist. Therefore, psi cannot be equal to 0. If psi is equal to 0, then it becomes meaningless, and hence psi cannot be equal to or should not be equal to 0. Now if psi is not equal to 0, it means this condition sine of KL should be equal to 0. This should be satisfied. And we know that sine of any quantity will be 0 if the quantity is equal to n times pi. Sine of pi is equal to 0. And so sine of n pi will also be equal to 0. Now since sine of KL is equal to 0, this implies that KL is equal to n times pi, where n is the natural number 1, 2, 3 and so on. So from equation 8, we can write, substitute the value of k, and therefore we can write psi is equal to A sine of n pi x upon L. This is equation 10. And equation 10 gives the wave function associated with a moving particle in one-dimensional box. So if a particle exists inside the box and it is moving, and the wave function associated with that particle is given by equation 10. Now we will write this equation 10 in a more generalized form. So in more generalized form, the wave function associated with the particle, it can be now given by psi n. This is equal to A sine of n pi x upon L, where n is equal to 1, 2, 3. This is our equation 11, and it is the generalized form of wave function associated with a moving particle inside the one-dimensional box of length L. Now we cannot put n is equal to 0 here, because if you put n is equal to 0, then sine n pi x upon L is equal to sine 0, and sine 0 is equal to 0. It means the wave function psi will again become equal to 0, means it will become meaningless. So n is equal to 0 is not permitted for a particle in one-dimensional box. Now we find the energy eigenvalues of this particle. Now remember our equation 5. We have substituted twice me upon h cross whole square. This is equal to k square. And we have also found what? K is equal to n pi upon L. So put k is equal to n pi upon L, and so we get twice me upon h cross whole square is equal to n pi upon L whole square. Now if you expand it and make the rearrangement of the terms, we get the energy of the particle E is equal to n square pi square h cross whole square divided by twice ml square. But we know that h cross is equal to h upon twice pi. So put the value of h cross is equal to h upon twice pi, and we get, upon simplification, we get that energy of the particle is given by E is equal to n square h square divided by 8 ml square. Here m is the mass of particle, L is the length of the one-dimensional box. Now in general, if you want to write the above equation in a generalized form, it becomes En is equal to n square h square divided by 8 ml square with n is equal to 1, 2, 3. This is equation 12. Remember that n is equal to 0 is not permitted for a particle in one dimensional box, because then psi becomes 0. So equation 12, it gives the energy of a particle moving in one dimensional box. And what do we observe from the equation 12? That the energy of a free particle in one dimensional box, it is inversely proportional to the mass of the particle. Greater the mass, less will be the energy. And energy of the particle is inversely proportional to square of length of the box. So box is of greater dimension, energy will be less, inversely proportional to m and l square. Now the energy of a particle in a ground state, it can be obtained by putting n is equal to 1. Remember that it is not n is equal to 0. By putting n is equal to 1, we obtain the energy of a particle in ground state, and it is given by E1 is equal to h square divided by 8 ml square. And if you calculate this value, energy of a particle in one dimensional box and in a ground state, this comes out to be 37.7 electron volt. Now, the energy of a particle in a first excited state, it can be obtained by putting n is equal to 2. And if you put n is equal to 2, we get E2 is equal to 4h square divided by 8 ml square. So now this is equal to, if you observe it carefully, this becomes equal to 4 times E1. So energy of a particle in a first excited state is equal to 4 times its energy in the ground state. And similarly, energy of a particle in the second excited state can be obtained by putting n is equal to 3. And if you do so, then we get the energy as E3 is equal to 9 times h square divided by 8 ml square. That is equal to 9 times the energy in the ground state, that is E1. So 9 times E1 is equal to E3. That is energy in second excited state. Thus you can go on calculating the energy of a particle in different excited state. Now we see the normalized wave function. Now, since the particle is somewhere in the box, it is not outside the box, it is inside the box. Therefore, the maximum probability of finding the particle inside the box is equal to 1. And this probability is given by mod of psi square is equal to psi star psi is equal to 1. So this gives the maximum probability of finding the particle inside the box. Now by condition of normalization, what is the condition? That integration minus infinity to infinity psi n star psi n dx, this is equal to 1. Here we have taken dx because only one dimension, that is along the x-axis is considered. So there is only dx, not dv. But since the particle exists only inside the box, so the particle exists within the limits 0 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to L. So these limits minus infinity to plus infinity, for this integration, they now reduce to, for a particle in one dimensional box, these limits reduce to integration 0 to L. Put the value of psi n star, it is a sine of n pi x upon L. Value of psi n a sine of n pi x upon L dx is equal to 1. So we get a square integration 0 to L sine square n pi x upon L dx is equal to 1. Now we have to solve this equation. And now to solve this equation, I am going to use a trigonometric function, that is 2 into sine square x is equal to 1 minus cos of 2x. I am going to use this equation trigonometric function. So sine square n pi x upon L, I can write it as 1 by 2 1 minus cos of twice n pi x upon L. I have used 1 minus cos of 2x is equal to 2 into sine square x. So I get this kind of equation, a square integration 0 to L half in bracket 1 minus cos of twice n pi x upon L dx is equal to 1. And if I integrate it, then finally I get the equation. See, I get this equation, a square divided by 2. First integration gives me x with lower limit 0, upper limit L, minus second integration gives me L upon twice n pi sine of twice n pi x upon L with lower limit 0 and upper limit 1, and this whole thing is equal to 1. So now put the lower limits and the upper limits. So we get this kind of equation. Now you observe here that in the second term, sine of twice n pi L upon L minus 0. This 0 has come because sine of 0 is equal to 0. So if I solve this equation, then just remember, see the second term, sine of twice n pi into L upon L. So this becomes sine of twice n pi, and we know that sine of twice pi is equal to 0. So this whole second term, this reduces to 0, and we are left with a square divided by 2 L minus L divided by twice n pi sine of twice n pi is equal to 1. And I have just now told that sine of twice n pi is equal to 0. So I get a square into L divided by 2 is equal to 1. So from this I can write a square is equal to 2 by L. And this gives me a is equal to under root of 2 by L. A is equal to under root of 2 by L. This is our equation 13. Now, put this equation, value of A, from equation 13 in equation 11, and we get the wave function psi n is equal to under root of 2 by L sine of n pi x upon L. This is our equation 14. What I have done? I have put the value of A, and this A is the normalization constant here. Under root of 2 by L is the normalization constant. So I get equation 14, which gives the normalized wave function for a free particle in one-dimensional box. Next we find the probability distribution and the wave function for that particle. The probability of finding the particle inside the box is given by mod of psi square is equal to psi star psi, where psi star is the complex conjugate of psi. And this, put the value of psi and psi star. So I get mod of psi whole square is equal to under root of 2 by L sine of n pi x upon L into under root of 2 by L sine of n pi x upon L. No complex term I is involved here. So the psi star is equal to psi. So if I solve this, I get mod of psi whole square is equal to 2 by L sine square n pi x upon L. And just now see this, that the probability density mod of psi whole square is maximum if and only if under root of 2 by L sine of n pi x upon L is maximum. The same thing can now be written as that the probability density mod of psi whole square is maximum if sine square n pi x upon L will be maximum. And what is the maximum value of sine square n pi x upon L? It is equal to 1. So the probability density mod of psi whole square is maximum if sine square n pi x upon L is equal to 1. Take the square root. So I get sine n pi x upon L. This is equal to plus minus 1. And this is possible if and only if n pi x upon L is equal to pi by 2, 3 pi by 2, 5 pi by 2, or in short it is equal to odd multiple of pi by 2. Then only it is possible that mod of psi square is maximum. If I cancel the common terms, then I can write x is equal to L divided by twice n, 3L divided by twice n, 5L divided by twice n, and so on. So now we will see the probability, density and wave function. See, if you plot a graph between mod of psi square on y-axis and x, then we get this kind of curves. The plot on left hand side, it gives the plot of probability density, and that on the right hand side it gives the wave function associated with the free particle in one dimensional box. So just remember that a free particle is a particle which moves in a region where potential is equal to 0, and a free particle in one dimensional box, it cannot come out of the box because at the edges the potential is infinity. The particle exists only inside the box, and the wave function psi for the particle also exists only inside the box. That's all about the first application of Schrodinger's wave equation to a free particle in a box. Have a nice day.